Welcome to Latina in America, your bilingual destination for all things Latina about our diverse culture, professions, and passion to travel. I am Rosie. Our special guests will share their career journeys and will take us to amazing places around the world. On some episodes, they will take you on those journeys in Spanish. Así es, en español. So come on and join me. Let's learn and travel. And today we have the honor of listening to the extraordinary journey of Dr. Christina Acosta, a Latina scientist, military veteran, and marathon runner. So get ready to be captivated by her story of resilience, determination, and victory. This episode was recorded just before her trip to Germany for the Berlin Marathon. And Dr. Christina will later tell us how she prepared for this significant event and share the profound impact of marathon running from a scientist's perspective. Dr. Christina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rosie, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so happy that you're sharing this moment. I found you on social media, and I think the algorithm worked very well because I love science. I love running. You are a scientist and a marathon runner. We are going to talk about all the things that you had to do to accomplish not only your professional achievement, but also your determination. In running a marathon, it takes a lot to accomplish that goal. So let's go ahead and get started with your heritage. How do you identify yourself?
My heritage, my parents are both from Mexico. My mom's from Guanajuato and my dad's from Michoacan. And I identify as Mexican-American. I was born in Los Angeles County.
So you are a first-generation Mexican-American. Yes. How was that mixing of the two cultures? How was growing up in California?
So growing up, I didn't even know that I was first generation or what it even meant, only because Southern California, at least in my experience, is just like an extension of Mexico. So I had all my tios, my tias, my abuelas, like everybody here. Plus, the culture is very Hispanic. I lived in a Hispanic neighborhood, the mercados. I had all the food and like the culture was still very much there. It wasn't until I got older and I left that I realized that I was in a very unique place. So I felt very, very at home and very cozy, cómoda.
Yeah, cómoda, claro, with all the costumes and the food and the tías y las amigas y la vecina. And you are attending school. Where did you develop that love for science? Can you tell us where you say, I have to study science? This is my passion. How was that transition for you?
It wasn't linear by any means. It had a lot of ups and downs. But I always, from what I can remember as a kid, I loved watching Bill Nye the Science Guy. I loved watching like Zoom, was on PBS Kids. So they constantly did like little kids experiments where I could try it at home using baking soda and adding Coke and like be very engaging and interactive. And I always wanted to know how things worked. So I was very obsessed with reading books and puzzles and trying to figure things out. I always had that since I was a little kid. And then growing up, there was a lot of things that happened, family issues that came up. And I know I just needed to get a job. I needed to work, bring in income and take care of myself. So I joined the military. And from that, I knew I still wanted to go back to school because school was just such a big part of my life. I knew I wanted to go back to it, but I needed to be able to afford it. So that's why I joined the military. And that's how I went back to school and got back into science, got back into science courses and learning through that. And it was really through college that I knew I really wanted to take a chance in research.
This is so important because, as you mentioned, we have these dreams, but sometimes we have to take a detour in order to meet other commitments. But keeping that dream alive, because you went into the military for a few years, and keeping that dream alive, keeping that possibility, and knowing that what you're doing in the military eventually will give you the opportunity to reach your goals. Were you taking classes during your enrollment in the military?
Yes. So while I was in the military, you can use your tuition assistance, which is separate from your GI Bill. So I always used my tuition assistance every semester to pay for courses while I was still in the military. So when I got out, I was able to transfer all my credits to the 4-year institution. So I went to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas for my undergrad, and I transferred my credits. So I was able to start the end of my sophomore year.
That is so good to know, because the most popular thing that people hear is the GI Bill, but these other options that you have is so important because it allows you to have a jump start in what you would like to do. And now that you're complete your assignment in the military and you have already a few credits, how was that transition from being in the military to be now a full-time college student? And how do you decide to start in biology, or how was that journey for you?
While I was in the military, I took a lot of the prerequisites, the basic classes that you need for your associates. It was the nutrition science course that I took that really got me interested in back into science again, but also how what we eat can influence our epigenetics, how that can change the DNA modifiers on top of the DNA, how we can still influence that, and how that can be passed down to the next generation. So if I were to have a child, how my lifestyle is now will influence the next generation. I was just very interested in that. And so that's why taking those courses while I was still in the military really kind of opened my eyes to different possibilities and different avenues in science. Because, you just hear science and you just think one thing, but there's so many different disciplines within it. So that's what brought me back into science after. And that's how I chose my degree.
And that's just the beginning. That is just the undergrad. Now, from undergrad to doctorate, there are so many things that needs to be done and accomplished in between. What made you choose a particular area of cell biology and anatomy? How was that transition that you will continue to graduate degree and ultimately with your doctorate?
How I transitioned, there's a lot of moving parts. Just my husband's active duty Air Force still right now. So we moved a lot. And after Vegas, we moved to Florida just briefly. So from there, we went to Louisiana, and I have a little bit left over my GI Bill. So I was like, let me just finish my bachelor's. I just needed like a few more courses and I can get another bachelor's degree to see if that's what I would want to pursue at a higher level. Because, nutrition science is different from biology. There's a lot of core differences. So I wanted to see maybe this could be something. So I finished my bachelor's degree in molecular and cellular biology. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is really gets in details. And I like knowing things on a cellular, molecular level. I like understanding pathways and mechanisms. It's just so fascinating. That's where I was like, I really want to pursue this in a more in-depth. So from there, I applied to a lot of research programs at LSU Shreveport. And it was a lot of no, because I didn't have any experience prior to that in research itself. And they all wanted prior research. But I'm like, if you never get a chance, you'll never have experience. So it took a lot of knocking on doors, but finally someone gave me an opportunity. And they were like, well, you're about to graduate. Have you ever considered coming to graduate school? If you really like science, this is a way to become a biomedical scientist. And that was the first time I ever heard of becoming a scientist. That's a profession for me. I never in a million years thought that could be a possibility for me. Then I wanted to learn more. And so when he started explaining to me the program and what it entails and what kind of job opportunities there are, I really got interested in it. So I actually applied, instead of applying directly into the Ph.D. program, I applied to the master's program because I just didn't know if I was going to like it that much. And I wanted to be committed to years of doing research. So I joined the master's program and I started doing research in the lab while taking courses at the same time. And for one semester, I did that. And I knew immediately, once my hand touched a pipette and I was pipetting and working in lab experiments, I loved it. And so I actually transferred from the master's program. And I don't think a lot of people know that you can do that. They don't highlight that at universities, but you can transfer if it gets approved and whatnot, but you can transfer from a master's to the PhD program. And so that's how I did the PhD student up until I graduated.
And one thing that I want to bring forward is what you just said, that you tried and you persisted and you receive a lot of no's. That is going to happen more often than not. How did you stay determined to those no's? Because that is the part when people sometimes either postpone or give up. And it's like developing that resistance. How do you do that until you got your yes? Because you only need one yes, one person with influence or one pathway. But for that one, you have to go through so many. How do you do it?
That's a good question. I think for me, I'm just bien terca. For me, I maybe also like I'm a bit delusional where I feel like I just know it's going to happen. Like it doesn't matter. I don't care if I get 1,000 no's. Even if I get upset, I'll allow myself to get hurt, get it out, and then I'll keep going again. And I feel like I pulled a lot out of my mom because my mom was very, very persistent. You know, she was terminally ill and I didn't see her get up in the morning, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and go to work. And she was extremely ill. And at that persistence that she was going to do anything she needed to take care of her kids, I always play that in my head. And so for me, it was like, I can't just give up. But she didn't give up. So that really, really stuck with me.
That's what it takes. And that could take years. It could take months. It could take days. But the determination has to be there, no matter how long it took. From the time that you start sending those letters, and I want you to tell me more about that, because there is a possibility that you are answering the question that people had. How long is it going to take? How many do I need to send? And how do I do that? How long it took you from the no's to yes? And how many contact points you had to make for that yes?
The no's actually started in 2017 to research programs. And it was no, all of 2017 and the beginning of 2018. So I think I heard my yes. It was very late in, I would say, March of 2018. So it was probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years of just no. And mind you, I also, in undergrad, I also asked a lot of professors if I could be involved in research. And they were like, no, we don't have any room. We don't have any room. I was already getting no's then. But I was, okay, fine, we'll move on to the next thing. So I would say if you collect all of that, I was probably getting those for like 3, 4 years. Yeah.
And hearing no is part of the equation. After all those no's, 7 years later, this is Dr. Christina Acosta. You have now your PhD, and I love your Instagram. What I love about your Instagram is because you document from before you graduated with your doctorate to where you are now. And now you're pursuing a marathon in Germany, correct?
Yes.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. And you documented your trajectory, your progress. There is an image that I love. Is one side, you're in your military gear, and on the other side, you show your white coat that you are in the process of becoming something that you dream about. And I invite you are listening, go to her Instagram, Running on Science, because there you will have the blueprint, the step-by-step that took years to get it done. And Dr. Christina, Dr. Acosta, you do such a beautiful way on your story. And the thing I like about your documenting that is we can see you every day, the discipline of running and keeping the miles and keeping the tracks of the mile and keeping your progress. And that is such a beautiful combination of your scientific knowledge and your sportsmanship and the dedication that you have. How those two words came together, from scientist to a marathon runner. How did that happen?
It happened organically. And since my dad was in track and cross country when he was younger, he kind of influenced us as far as being in sports. But it wasn't, I would say, a huge passion of mine until I joined the military, because we had to do the physical training test. In training for that, we had to do a 1.5 mile test with a certain amount of time to pass. And then I realized, what if I train smarter? What if I train better? What if I train and let's see if the work that I'm doing can influence an outcome? And that sense of autonomy, that sense of that you can influence how you perform. I loved that. Like one thing that I have for me, for my own. And so I started training smarter. I learned from my past mistakes and I got faster and faster for the 1.5 miles. And then I'm like, what if I do a 5K? what if I do a 10K? And I started doing longer races and I fell in love with endurance racing. I love locking in mentally, even embracing the pain, my legs, the achiness, just embracing it. It feels so much better to celebrate when I know I've given it everything I have.
It's a challenge within yourself. Yes, we are surrounded by amazing athletes. We are surrounded by other people, and there is the finish line, and we know everybody has had their own trajectory to that. And then in your case, combining that with the science of how the body works to make it happen. I mean, what a beautiful combination of the two. Just the signing up, receiving the bib, receiving the numbers, is something that gives us so much determination, and we can transfer that in our regular life. Now, from a scientist's point of view to this running that you have developed, this learning, I even saw you on this oxygen test that you took. It was so enlightening to learn about all those tests that you can do to learn more about your condition and to improve your techniques. So how do you combine your science with the running? And what is the pathway for the two? What do you see ahead in the future combining those two?
So that is where my passion project is. Right now, I really want to learn everything about exercise physiology as far as looking at how my body is responding to the training that I'm doing. So I did the VO2 max test, which is just the maximum amount of oxygen that you can take up in your body to produce within your muscles, within the mitochondria, to generate ATP to do work. We're like a car. We need good gasoline and we need it all the time to really perform at our best. So I did VO2 max and I also did lactate testing. So I wanted to see what these numbers were because I want to know how my body is performing. I want to know how can I make it better. And so it's just very, very, very interesting.
It's very interesting, especially what is your passion, because when something is our passion, we go above and beyond of what it is. And we just become so invested on the reason. Yeah. Why is this happening? What do I need to do to get better? Or how does it work? And who knows, that might be the answers that we've been looking for. So what are some life lessons that you can share that will create some type of a blueprint for action to improve where we are or pursuing our goal or go after our passion or being the first? Being the first is not an easy task. So what life lessons do you share with us?
I would say the life lesson is to never give up. Never, never, never give up. And so they always show those point A to point B. It's never a straight line. It's wiggly, it's squiggly. Sometimes you get to go back, to go forward. And that is truly how it's been for me. And so I just want to let everyone know that if you want it, go get it. It's truly, truly is yours. And really reach out to everyone and anyone that you possibly can, because you just never know who wants to hear your story or who wants to be involved in your project, or involved in your career progression. Putting myself out there, I have been very, very, blessed to meet people that have helped me along the way. And so you really can't do it alone. You do need people that are on your support team, and they are out there. And despite all the no's, there are people that will give you that one yes.
That one yes, on mentors, on advisors. What were the role of those people in your team to help you to launch to success?
Such a great question, because as far as my academic career, I had a lot of mentors in the military, wonderful supervisors that really helped my career progression and put me up for awards. And they were constantly pushing me to my career. When I transitioned to academia, certain professors wanted to help me. And one in particular, Dr. Shepard, Dr. Deborah Shepard, she was my statistics professor at LSU Shreveport. She is a brilliant statistician. And she was really someone that always encouraged me, and she wrote a letter of recommendation for graduate school, for every single grant that I submitted, every single program that I was applying to. She really played an instrumental role. And then when I joined graduate school, Dr. Mabruka Al-Faidi, she's another huge mentor for me that wrote me letters of recommendation. She put me on her project, put me on her wing, and took care of me the entire 5 years of my graduate school. Even now, till now, we are very, very close. And she put me on a commentary blog for ATB, which is arteriosclerosis, thrombosis, vascular biology, which is a scientific journal. She invited me to be involved in doing commentaries for scientific articles. She, again, is a huge mentor in my life and helped me get to the next stepping stone. So I had a lot of strong women in my life that really made a huge impact to my career. And now I have new mentors here in California that I can see are opening doors for me in different paths. I'm very grateful.
It's so beautiful because we are so grateful for those people who have taken their time to guide us, because sometimes we don't even know what is the path, and they see our potential. And sometimes they see a potential that we don't even see in ourselves, and they see it, and they are with you throughout. And because you went through that process and you understand how it works, and you're so grateful about it, you probably will become that mentor to somebody else because they are so much talent. But if we don't even know what professions are available, how can we even pursue them?
Yes.
Years ago, AI and ChatGPT, what is that? And now let's see how that is going to enhance what we do, or maybe take more precautions the way we do it. It could go either way, but the beauty is to be exposed and to know. So I'm so excited about everything that you have done. And one thing that you do that I love is to travel. And you travel now for professional reasons, you travel for your running and marathon, or you travel for leisure. How do you combine those travel and your experiences?
For professional travel, it was stationed in England for 2 years. And when I was in the Air Force, and then from there I was stationed in Adana, Turkey for 2 years. So for work, I was always overseas. The military really opened my eyes to seeing what the world was and being exposed to living overseas and being immersed in different cultures and different languages and different food and music. It was just beautiful. I knew that that's what I wanted to continue on. I knew that had to stay something that I was consistent with it because I just loved it so much. I also traveled with my husband leisurely throughout the United States. And then while I joined graduate school, a lot of conferences were in different places in the United States. I went to Philadelphia for a conference, San Diego. I went to Scotland for a conference. And then we usually use the marathon races to travel. So I normally choose places that I want to visit, find a race so that I can really train for a race. So you get both in one. So you get to do the race, you get to give all your effort, vacation, and explore and eat all the food.
All the food. I say something is so magical about registering for a race, because not only the training started, but what are we going to do when we go there? Especially if it's out of state, out of town, out of the country. It's like, okay, so what's going to happen during the training, before the training? And it's just keeps compounding over and over and over. And you have like a good package deal. And it starts with a registration, because now you put your name and usually money behind it. So we need to take advantage of this, and how beautiful it is. Now, at the time of this recording, you are training for the marathon. So tell us more about it.
I think after this Sunday, which is going to be a 12-mile run, that's going to be the last long run that I have. After that, I'm just going to be tapering. But they're all going to be like lower mileage, very easy, nothing hard. As far as like the pace is very leisurely to allow my body to recover from the 4 months of training, and eat lots of carbohydrates, lots of pasta, lots of enchiladas, tortas, making sure that I'm very hydrated and ensuring that I get good sleep so that on marathon day, I can not fall asleep while I'm running. That's kind of how I'm preparing for the race and the travel.
Yeah. Well, I am so proud of you, and I'm so glad that you took this time in between training to share your story, to share your journey. I know that I have learned a lot. And also, I want to ask you the best way to get in touch with you, including your YouTube channel, because I love the videos you put there. So
Thank you.
They're amazing. You give so much information and example, and we see you, and just made me want to put on my tennis shoes and start running too. And for that person who says she is the one that I want to get the information from, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way you can get in touch with me is on my Instagram at Running on Science. I also have my email, runningonScience2@gmail.com. You could also find me on LinkedIn, Christina Acosta, Ph.D., and as well as my YouTube, And Running on Science is the handle, but my name is Dr. Christina on YouTube, on TikTok as well, Running on Science, and then my website, runningonscience.com.
One last thing that I'd like to ask, is there something that you would like to bring forward before we conclude the episode?
I would say my main thing is take up space as a Latina. As a Latina in any discipline, whether you're an artist, you're a graphic designer, you're a chef, you're an engineer, take up the space, be heard, be seen, and do it with all of you, all of your personality, and bring it to the table because we deserve to be there on all spaces. I want to see our community bloom and flourish in all parts of life.
What a beautiful way to conclude this episode. Dr. Christina Acosta, you are a Latina in America. Thank you for the time you have given us. And I'm looking forward to see how everything takes place and how you document and your progress and everything that you have to share because it's truly valuable. So, gracias nuevamente. Mucho éxito.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thanks for finding and subscribing to Latina in America so you don't miss a thing. And if you like this episode, give us a 5-star review so we can be put on front of more listeners. For details and show notes and how you can connect with and support our guests, please go to latinainamericapodcast.com. Email us at latinainamericapodcast@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at Latina in America. Links can be found on the website. This has been Rosie, a Latina in America.